We'll be reading chapter 14 of Mark by PC and Kristin Cass, mother-daughter. Vincent was totally cool, which was a surprise. Class was held in a huge room off the gym that looked like a dance studio, complete with a floor-to-ceiling wall of mirrors hanging from the ceiling along one side were weird life-size mannequins that reminded me of the three-dimensional shooting targets. Everyone called Professor Langford, Dragon Langford, or just Dragon. It didn't take me long to figure out why. His tattoo represented two dragons whose body serpent-like wrapped down one side over his jawline. Their heads were over his brows and their mouths were open, breathing fire at the crescent moon. It was an amazing and hard not to stare at. Plus, Dragon was the first male teacher vampire I had seen up close. At first, he confused me. I guess if you asked me what I expect from a male vampire, I would have said his opposite. Honestly, I had the movie star vampire stereotype in mind. Tall, dangerous, handsome, like Van Diesel. Anyway, Dragon is short, has long blondish hair, and he pulls back hair that he pulls back in a low ponytail, and except for the fierce looking dragon tattoo, has a cute face with a warm smile. It was only when he began leading the class through its warm-up exercise that I began to realize his power. From the instant he held the sword, which I later found out was called a epic, in the traditional salute, he seemed to become someone else. Someone who moved with unbelievable quickness and grace. He feinted and lunged and effortlessly made the rest of the class, even the kids who were pretty good, like Damien, look like awkward puppets. When he finished leading the warm-ups, the dragon paired everyone off and had them work on what he called the standards. I was relieved when he motioned for Damien to be my partner. Zoe, it's good to have you join the House of Night, Dragon said, shaking my hand in the traditional Amazon vampire greeting. Damien can explain the different parts of fencing uniform to you. And I'll get you a handout to study over the next few days. I am assuming you have no previous instruction in the sport? No, I haven't, I said, and then I added nerds, but I like to learn. I mean, the whole idea of using a sword is just cool. Dragon smiled. Foil, he corrected. You'll be learning how to use a foil. It's the lightest weight of the three types of weapons we have here. And an excellent choice for women. Did you know that fencing is one of the few sports where women and men can compete on entirely equal teams? No, I said, instantly enraged. How cool would it be to kick a guy's butt at a sport? This is because the intelligent and focused fencer can successfully compensate for any perceived deficiencies he or she may have, and may even be able to turn those deficiencies, such as strength or reach, into assets. In other words, you may not be as strong or as fast as your opponent, but you could be smarter or able to remain focused better, which will tip the scales in your favor. Right, Damien? Damien grinned. Right. Damien is one of the best focused fencers I had the privilege to coach in decades, which makes him a dangerous opponent. I snuck a sideways glance at Damien, who flushed with pride and pleasure. For the next week or so, I have Damien drill you in the opening maneuvers. Always remember, fencing requires a mastery of skills that are sentimental and habitual in nature. If one of the skills is not required, subsequent skills will be very difficult to master, and the fencer will be at a permanent and serious disadvantage. Okay, I'll remember, I said. Dragon smiled warmly again before he moved off to work his way among each participating pair. What he means is don't get discouraged or bored if I make you do the same exercise over and over. So what you're really seeing is that you're going to be annoying, but there's a purpose behind it. Yeah. And of course, that purpose will help lift that cute little butt of yours, he said sassily, tapping me with the side of his foil. I slapped at him and rolled my eyes, but after 20 minutes of lunging and settling back into the beginning stance and lunging over and over again, I knew he was right. My butt would be killing me tomorrow. We took quick showers after class. Thankfully, there were separated curtain draped stalls for each of us in the girls' locker room, and we didn't have to barbarically entirely shower in a huge open area like we were in prison inmates or whatever. And then I hurried with the rest of the crowd to the lunchroom, better known as the dining room hall. And I do mean hurry. I was starving. Lunch was a huge build-your-own salad buffet, which included everything from tuna salads each to those weird mini corns that are so confusing. And they don't even taste like corn. What exactly are they? Baby corn? Midget corn? Mutant corn? I piled my plate high and got a big chunk of what looked like and smelled like freshly baked bread and slid into the booth beside Stevie Ray while Damien following close behind me. Aaron and Shannon were already arguing over something to do with those easy essays for their lit class was better, even though they both gotten 96 on their papers. So Zoe, Giv, what about Eric Knight? Stevie Ray asked the instant I forced a big bite of salad into my mouth. Stevie Ray's words immediately shut up the twins and forced the entire table's attention to me. I thought about what I was going to say about Eric and decided that I wasn't ready to tell anyone about the unfortunate blowjob scene, so I just said. He kept looking at me. When they frowned at me, I realized that though my salad mouthed what I really was saying, he and swallowed and tried again. He kept looking at me in drama class. It was just a demo, confusing, defined looking at me, Damien said. Well, it happened the second he came into class, but it was especially noticeable when he was giving us an example of a monologue. He did this thing from Othello, and when he said the line about how love and such, he stared right at me. I would have thought it was just an accident or something, but he looked at me before he started the monologue, and then again as he was leaving the room. I sighed and squirmed a little uncomfortable with their way too piercing looks. Never mind, it was probably just part of his act. Eric Knight is the hottest damn thing at this entire school, Shania said. Forget that, he's the hottest damn thing on this planet, Aaron said. He's not hotter than Kenny Chesney, Stevie Ray said quickly. Okay, just please with your country obsession, Shauna. Frowned at Stevie Ray before turning her attention back to me. Do not let this opportunity pass you by. Yeah, Aaron echoed. Do not pass me by. What am I supposed to do? He didn't even say anything to me. Zoe, honey, did you smile back at the boy, Damien asked? I blinked. Had I smiled back at him? Oh, crap, I bet I hadn't. I bet I just sat there and stared at like a moron and maybe even drooled. Okay, well, I might have not drooled, but still, I demo. I said instead of the sad truth, which didn't fool Damien at all. He snorted. Next time, smile at him. And maybe say hi, Stevie Ray said. I thought Eric was just a pretty face, Shauna said. In body, Aaron said, until he dumped Aphrodite. Shanae continued. When he did that, I realized that boy might have something going on upstairs. We can already tell he has it going on downstairs. Aaron wiggled her eyebrows. Shanae said, licking her lips like she was contemplating eating a big piece of chocolate. You two are gross, Damien said. We only meant that he has the cutest butt in town, Miss Press. Shanae said, as if he hadn't noticed. Aaron said, if you're starting to talk to Eric, it would really piss off Aphrodite. Stevie Ray said. Everyone turned and stared at Stevie Ray as if she just parted the Red Sea or something. It's true, Damien said. Very true, Shauna said while Aaron nodded. So the rumor is he used to go out with Aphrodite, I said. Yep, Aaron said. The rumor is not loosely but true. Shauna said, which makes it even better that now he likes you. Guys, he was probably just staring at my weird mark. I blurted. Maybe not. You're really cute, Zoe, Stevie Ray said with a smile. Or maybe your mark made him look and he thought you were cute, or so he kept looking, Damien said. Either way, his looking would definitely piss Aphrodite off, Shanae said, which is a good thing, Aaron said. Stevie Ray waved their comments. Just forget about Aphrodite and your mark and all that other stuff. Next time he smiles at you, say hi. That's all. Easy, Sante said. Peasy, Aaron said. Okay, I murmured and went back to my salad, wishing desperately that the whole Eric Knight issue was an easy peasy as they thought it was. One thing about lunch at the House of Night was the same as lunch at SIHS or any other school I ever eaten at. It was over too soon. And then Spanish class was a blur. Professor Grammy was a little Hispanic whirlwind. I liked her right away. Her tattoo looked oddly like feathers, so she reminded me of a little Spanish bird. But she ran the class speaking entirely in Spanish. Entirely. I should probably mention here that I haven't spoken Spanish since 8th grade, and I really admit to not paying much attention to it then. So I was pretty lost, but I wrote down the homework and promised myself I studied the vocab words. I hate being lost. Intro to Equestrian Studies was held in the field house. It was a long, low brick building over at the south wall attached to a huge indoor riding arena. The whole place had the sawdust, horsey smell that mixed with leather to form something that was pleasant, even though you know that part of pleasant scent was poopsy, horse poopsy. I stood nervously with a small group of kids just inside the corral where a tall, stern-faced upperclassman had directed us to wait. There were only about 10 of us, and we were all third formers. Oh, great, that annoying redhead Elliot kid was slouching against the wall, kicking at the sawdust. He raised enough dust to make the girl standing closest to him sneeze. She threw him a dirty look and moved a few steps away. God, did he irritate everyone? And why couldn't he use some product or perhaps a comb on that nappy hair? The sound of hoofs drove my attention away from Ellie, and I looked up and told me to see a magnificent black mare pouncing into the crowd at full gallop. She slid to a stop a couple of feet in front of us. While we all gawked like fools, the mare's rider dismounted gracefully. She had thick hair that reached to her waist and was so blonde it was almost white, and eyes that were a weird shade of slate gray. Her body was tiny, and the way she stood reminded me of those girls who obviously take dance classes so that even when they're not in ballet, they stand like they have something stuck up their butts. Her tattoo was an intricate series of knots entwined around her face within sapphire designs I was sure I could see plunging horses. Good evening, I am LeBon, and this, she pointed at the mirror, and gave our Rubicon to Perseus' look before finishing the statement, is a horse. Her voice rang against the walls. The black mare blew through her nose as if to night her words, and you are my new group of third formers. Each of you has been chosen from our class because we believe you may possibly have an aptitude for writing. The truth is, less than half of you will last the semester, and less than half of those who last will actually develop into decent questions. Are there any questions? She didn't pause long enough for anyone to ask something good. Good, then follow me and you shall begin. She turned and marched back into the stable. We followed. I wanted to ask who the we were who thought I might have an attitude for riding, but I was scared to say anything and just scrambled after her like everyone else. She came to a halt in front of a row of empty stalls. One of them were outside of them were pitchforks and wheelbarrows. The Bonan Len Oba turned to face us. Horses are not big dogs, nor are they little girls romanticized dream image of a perfect best friend who will always understand you. Two girls standing side beside me, facially giggling, and LeBron secured them with her gray eyes. Horses are work. Horses are take dedication, intelligence, and time. We begin with the work part. In the track room down this hall, you'll find mucking boots. Choose a pair quickly while we all get gloves. Then each of you will take your own stall and get busy. Professor Limbone, said a chubby girl with a cute face who raised her hand nervously. Libana will do. The name I chose in honor of the ancient vampire queen needs no other title. I didn't have no clue who Libana was and made a mental note to look it up. Go on. You have a question, Amanda? Yes. Liber raised one eyebrow at the girl. Amanda swallowed noisily. Get doing what, Professor? The ma'am. Clean out stalls, of course. The manure goes in the wheelbarrows. When your wheelbarrow is full, you can dump it in the compost area on the side of the stables. There is a fresh sawdust in the storage room beside the track room. You have 15 minutes. I'll be back in 45 to inspect your stalls. We all blinked at her. You may commence. Now, we command. We commanded. Okay, really, I know it's not going to sound weird, but I didn't mind cleaning out my stall. Horse poopsie just isn't that gross, especially because it was obvious that these stalls were cleaned out like every other instant of the day. I grabbed the mucking boots, which were big rubber galoshes. Totally ugly, but they did cover my jeans all the way up to my knees, and a pair of gloves, and got to work. There was music playing through excellent loudspeakers, something I was pretty sure was Inanna's latest CD. My mom used to listen to Inanna before she married John, but then he decided that it might be witch music, so she quit, which is why I always like Inanna. So I listened to the haunting Gaelic lyrics and pitchfork up poopsie. It didn't seem that hardly any time had passed when I dumped the wheelbarrow and then started filling it with clean sawdust. I was smoothing it around the stall when I finally got that prickly feeling that someone was watching me. Good job, Zoe. I jumped and whirled around to see Lavana standing just outside my stall. In one hand she was holding a big soft curry bush. In the other she was holding the lean rope of a doe-eyed roan mare. You have done this before. My grandma used to have a really sweet gray Galen I named Bunny, I said before I realized how stupid I sounded. Cheeks hot, I heard on. Well, I was 10, and his color reminded me of Bugs Bunny, so I started calling him that, and it sucks. LeBron's lips tittered up in the barest hint of a smile. It was Bunny's stall you cleaned. Yeah, I like to ride them, and Grandma said that no one should ride a horse unless they clean up after him. I shrugged. So I cleaned up after him. Your grandma is a wise woman, I nodded. And you did mind cleaning up after Bunny? No, not really. Good. Meet Persephone. Lambona nodded her head at the mare beside her. You just cleaned her stall. The mare came into the stall and walked straight up to me and sticking her muzzle in my face and blowing gently, which tickled me tickled and made me giggle. I rubbed her nose and automatically kissed the warm velvet of her head. There, Persephone, you pretty girl. They were nodding in approval as the mayor and I got to know each other. There are only 5 minutes left before the bell rings for school to end, and so it's not necessary that you stay for that part of today's class. But if you like, I believe you have earned the privilege of brushing Persephone. Surprised, I looked up from patting the horses. No problem, I'll stay, I heard myself saying. Excellent. You can return the brush to the track room when you finish. I'll see you tomorrow, Zoe. They'll hand me the brush, petted the mare, and left us alone in the stall. But Stephanie stuck her head in the metal rack that held fresh hay and got work got to work chewing. While I got to work brushing, I'd forgotten how relaxing it was to groom a horse. Bunny had died of a sudden and very scary heart attack 2 years ago, and Grandma had been upset to get another horse. She said that the rabbit, which is what she used to call him, couldn't be replaced. So it had been 2 years since I had been around a horse, but it came back to me instantly, all of it. The smells, the warm, soothing sound of a horse eating, and the gentle swoosh the curry brush made as it slid over the mare's slick coat. At the edge of my attention, I vaguely heard Levin's voice, sharp and angry, as he totally threw out a student I guess was annoying the red-headed kid. I peeked over Persephone's shoulder and took a quick look down at the stall line. Sure enough, the red-headed kid was slouching in front of his stall. The Baron stood beside him, hands on her hips. Even from the side view, I could see she was mad as hell. Was it this kid's mission to piss off every teacher here? And his mentor was dragging. Okay. The guy looked nice until he picked up a sword. Full. And he shifted from nice guy to deadly, dangerous vampire warrior guy. That red-headed slug kid must have had a death wish, I told Persephone as I returned to her grooming. The mare twitched an ear back at me and blew her through her nose. Yeah, I know you agree. Want to hear my theory about how my generation could single-handedly wipe out slugs and loser kids from America? She seemed so respectful, so I launched into my don't prognosticate with loser speech. Zoe, there you are. Oh my God, stay away. You scared the poop out of me. I patted and pressed her Persephone, who has shielded when I squeak. What in the world are you doing? I wiggled the curry brush in her direction. What does it look like I'm doing, Stevie Ray? Getting a pedicure? Stop messing around. The full moon ritual is going to start in 2 minutes. Aw, hell. I gave Persephone one more pat and hurried out of the stall to the track room. You forgot all about it, didn't you? Stevie Ray said, holding my hand to help me balance while I kicked my feet out of the rubber boots and put my cute ballet slippers back on. No, I lied. Then I realized I almost forgot about the Dark Sisters ritual. Aw, hell. Chapter 15. About halfway to Nexus Temple, I realized that Stevie Ray was being unusually quiet. I glanced sideways at her. Was she also looking pale? I got a creepy walk over your grave feeling. Stevie Ray, is something wrong? Well, it's sad and kind of scary. What is it? The full moon ritual. My stomach started to hurt. No, you'll like that, or at least you'll like this one. I knew she meant versus the Dark Daughters ritual I had to go to afterwards. But I didn't want to talk about that. Stevie Ray's next words made the whole issue of the Dark Daughter seem like a secondary problem. A girl died last hour. What? How? How did they all die? She didn't make the change, and her body just... Stevie Ray paused, shuddering. It happened near the end of Taekwondo class. She'd been coughing just like she was short of breath at the beginning of our warm-up exercise. I didn't think anything of it. Or maybe I did, but I didn't put it... But I put it out of mind. Stevie Ray gave me a small, sad smile, and she looked ashamed of herself. Is there any way to save a kid after they start? I broke off and made a very uncomfortable gesture. No, there's no way you can be safe if your body starts to reject the change. Then don't feel bad about not wanting to think about the girl who was coughing. There's nothing you could have done anyway. I know it was awful, and Elizabeth was so nice. I felt a sharp jolt somewhere in the middle of my body. Elizabeth, no last name. She's the girl who died. Stevie Ray nodded, blinking hard and obviously trying not to cry. That's horrible, I said, my voice so weak it was almost a whisper. I remember how considerate she'd been about my mark and how she noticed I was looking at me. But I just saw her in drama class. She was fine. That's how it happens. 1 second that kid sitting next to you looks perfectly fine. The next, Stevie Ray shivered again, and everything is going on like normal, even though someone at the school just died. I remember that last year when a group of sophomores from SIHS had been in a car accident one weekend, and two of them had been killed. Extra counselors had been called in to school on Monday, and all the athletic events have been canceled for that week. Everything goes on like normal. We're supposed to get used to the idea that it might happen to anyone. You'll see, everyone will act like nothing happened, especially upperclassmen. It's just third formers and good friends of Elizabeth, like her roommate, who will show any reaction at all. The third formers, that's ours, are supposed to act right and get over it. Elizabeth's roommate and best friends will probably keep to themselves for a couple days, but then they'll be expected to get it together. She lowered her voice. Truthfully, I don't think the vamps think of any of us as real until we actually change. I've thought about this. Nephra didn't seem to treat me like I was temporary. She said that it was an excellent sign my mark was colored in already. Not that I was confident as she seemed to be about my future, but I absolutely was not going to see anything that might sound as if Nephra was giving me special treatment. I didn't want to be the weird one. I just wanted to be Stevie Ray's friend and fit in with my new group. That's really awful, was all I said. Yeah, but at least if it happens fast. Part of me wanted to know the details, and part of me was too scared to even ask the question. Thankfully, Shauna interrupted before I could make myself ask what I was really too freaked out to want to know. Just please with the talking so long, Shauna called from the front steps of the temple. Aaron and Daniel are already inside, 7 place in the circle for eyes. But you know that once the ritual starts, they won't let anyone else in. Hurry up. We rushed up the steps with Charlene hurried us into the temple. Sweet, smoky incense engulfed me as I entered the dark arch foyer of Nexus Temple. Automatically, I hesitate. Stevie Ray and Shauna turned to me. It's okay. There's nothing to be nervous or scared about. Stevie Ray met my eyes and added, at least nothing in there. The full moon ritual is great. You'll like it. Oh, when the vamp traces the pentagram on your forehead and says blessed be, all you'll have to do is say blessed be back to her, Shanae said, explained. Then follow us over to our place in the circle. She smiled reassuringly at me and hurried ahead in the dimly lit interior room. Wait, I grabbed Stevie Ray's sleeve. I don't want to sound stupid, but isn't a pentagram a sign of evil or something like that? That's what I thought too, until I got here. But all that evil stuff is bull that the people of faith want you to believe. So that heck, she said with a shrug. I'm not even gonna sure they're so set on people, all human, that this that is believing that is the sign of evil. The truth is that for like a zillion years the pentagram has stood for wisdom, protection, perfection, good stuff like that. It's just a 5-pointed star. 4 of the point stands for the elements. The fifth one points up stands for the spirit. That's all it is. No boogeyman there. Control. I'm very glad we had a reason good talking about Elizabeth. That's how the people I think wanted to control everything, and part of the control is that everyone has to always believe exactly the same. That's why they want people to think the pentagram is evil. I shook my head in disgust. Never mind. Come on. I'm readier than I thought I was. Let's go. And we walked deeper into the foyer, and I heard running water. We passed a beautiful fountain, and then the entryway curved gently to the left. Within a thick, arched stone doorway stood a vampire I didn't recognize. She was dressed entirely in black, a long black skirt, and a silky bell-sleeve blouse. The only decoration she had on was the silver emerald goddess figure over her breast. Her hair was long and the color of wheat, sapphire color spirals radiance from her crescent moon tattooed down around her flawless face. That's Anastasia. She teaches spells and rituals class. She's also Dragon's wife. Stevie Ray whispered quickly before she stepped up to the vampire and respectfully placed her fist over her heart. Anastasia smiled and dipped her finger in a rock bowl she was holding. Then she traced a five-pointed star on Stevie Ray's forehead. "Blessed be Stevie Ray," she said. "Blessed be," Stevie Ray responded. She gave an enormous look before she disappeared into the smoky room beyond. I took a deep breath and made a conclusion decision, put all my thoughts of Elizabeth and death and what ifs out of my mind. At least during this ritual, I moved perfectly into the space in front of Anastasia, mimicking David Ray. I placed my closed fist over my heart. The vampire dipped her fingers in what I know was over. "Merry meet, Zoe Rayburn. Welcome to the House of Night in your new life," she said as she traced the pentagram on my forehead over my mark. "And blessed be," I murmured, surprised as the electric shiver that passed through my body when the damp star had taken form on my forehead. "Go on in and join your friends. There's no need to be nervous. I believe the goddess is already looking after. Thank you," I said and hurried into the room. There were candles everywhere, huge white ones suspended from the ceiling in iron chandeliers. Big candle trees held more of them and were lined along the walls in the temple. Scones didn't burn all oil dimly and lanterns like the rest of the school. Here the scones were real. I knew that this place used to be a people of faith church dedicated to St. Augustine, but it looked like no church I ever seen before. Besides, being lit only by candlelight, there were no pews, and by the way, I really dislike pews. Could they be any more uncomfortable? Actually, the only furniture in the big room was an antique wooden table situated in the center of that was kind of like the one in the dining hall, only this one wasn't just loaded with food and wine and such. This one also held a marble statue of the goddess, arms raised up, looking a lot like the emerald design the vampires wore. There was a huge candelabrum on the table, its fat white candles burning brightly, as well as several thick sticks of smoke incense. Then my eyes were caught by the open flames burning from out of a recess in the stone floor. It flickered wildly, its yellow fire almost waist high. It was beautiful in controlled, dangerous kind of a way, and it seemed to draw me forward. Thankfully, Stevie Ray's waving hand snagged my attention before I could follow my impulse to approach the flame. Then I noticed, wondering how I could have failed to see this from the beginning, that there was a huge circle of people, students as well as adult vampires, stretching around the edges of the room. Feeling nervous and awestruck at the same time, I made my feet move so I could take my place in the circle beside Stevie Ray. "Finally," Damien said under his breath. "Sorry we're late," I said. "Leave her alone. She's nervous enough as it is," Stevie Ray told him. "Sheesh, it's starting." "Shh. It's starting," his four forms seemed to materialize from the darkened corners of the room to become women who made their way to four spots within the living circle, like the directions on a compass. Two more internal entered from the doorways through which I just come. One was a tall male, well, scratch that, male vampire. All of the male adults were vampires, and oh my god, he was hot. And he was an excellent example of the stereotype of gorgeous vampire guy, up close and personal. He was over 6 feet tall and looked like he belonged on the big screen, and there is only one reason why I'm taking that damn poetry alert, those. Shonda whispered, I'm with you there, twin. Aaron breathed dreamily. Who is he? I asked him. Lauren Blake, vamp poet literature. He's the first male poet literature in 200 years. Literally, she whispered, and he's the only, like, 20 something in real years, not just in looks. Before I could say anything, he started to speak, and my mouth was too busy flapping open at the sound of his voice for me to do anything but listen. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies. As he spoke, he moved slowly towards the circle, as if his voice was mad music. The woman who entered the room with him began to sway and then dance gracefully around the outside of the living circle. And all that best of dark and bright meet her in her aspect in her eyes. The dancing woman had everyone's attention with a jolt. I realized that it was Nephri. She was wearing a long silk dress that had tiny crystal beads sewn in all over it, so that the candlelight caught each of her movements and made her shimmer like the star-filled night sky. Her movement seemed to call alive the words of the old poem, at least in my mind, was still working well enough. I recognized it as Lord Byron's "She Walks in Beauty," thus mellowed to the tender light which heaven to guard and day denies. Somehow both Nephri and Lauren managed to stand up in the center of the circle as he finished reciting the stanza. Then Nephri took a goblet from the table and lifted it as if offering to drink the circle. Welcome, Nexus children, to the goddess celebration of the full moon. The adult vampires chorus, marry me. Never smiled and put the goblet back on the table and picked up a long white taper that was already lit and set in a single candlestick holder that she walked across the circle to face a vamp. I didn't know who was standing at what must be the head of the circle. The vamp saluted her, hand over breast, before turning around so that her back was to Nephri's. Stevie Way whispered, we all face each other in the four directions. Nephri evokes the elements and casts Nexus circle. East and air come first. Then everyone, including me, even though I knew kinda slow, turned to face east. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Never raised her arms over her head as her voice rang against the stone walls of the temple. From the east I summoned air and asked that she carry to the circle the gift of knowledge, that our ritual will be filled with learning. The instant Nephrite began speaking the invocation, I felt the air change. It moved around me, muffling my hair and filling my ears with the sound of wind sighing through leaves. I looked around, expecting to see everyone else had been caught in a mini whirlwind, but didn't notice anyone else's hair getting messed up weird. The vamp, who was standing in the east pulled a thick yellow candle from the folds of her dress and never lit it. She lifted it into the air and then placed it flickering at her feet. Turn to your right for fire. Stevie Ray whispered again. Return and Neferade continued. From the south I summon fire and ask that you light in this circle the gift of strength of will, so that our ritual will be binding and powerful. The wind had been blowing softly against me as was replaced by a sensation of heat. It wasn't exactly uncomfortable. It was more like the flush you feel when you step into a hot tub, but it was warm enough to make a sweat break out all over my body. I glanced at Stevie Ray. She had her head raised slightly and her eyes were closed. There was no sign of sweat on her face. The intense of the heat suddenly jumped up a notch. I looked back at Neferat. She had lit a large red candle that Pendacios was holding it. And then, as the East Fiend vamp had done, Penna lifted it up, an offering, before placing it at her feet. This time, I didn't need Stevie Ray nudging to turn to my right and turn again to my right and face west. Somehow, I knew just not what that we needed to turn. That was the next element was to be someone was water. From the west, I summoned water and asked that you wash this circle in compassion, that the light of the full moon can be used to bestow healing to our group as well as understanding. Nafra lit the west-facing vamp's blue candle. The vamp lifted it and placed it at her feet as the sound of waves filled my ears and the salty scent of the sea filled my nose. Eagerly I completed the circle by facing north, and I knew I'd be embracing earth. From the north I summoned earth and asked that you grow within this circle the gift of manifestation, that the wishes and prayers from tonight will come to frustration. Suddenly I could feel the softness of a grassy meadow under my feet, and I smelled hay and heard bird song. A green candle was lit and placed at Earth's feet. I should have probably been afraid of the odd sensation breaking over me, but they filled me with an almost unbreakable lightness. I felt good, so good that when it never faced the flame that burned in the middle of the room, that the rest of us turned to the interior of the circle. I had to press my lips tightly together to keep from laughing out loud. The drop-dead gorgeous poet was standing across the fire from Nefer, and I could see that he was holding a big purple candle in his hands. And last I summoned spirit to complete our circle and asked that you fill us with connection so that as your children we may prosper together. Unbelievably, I felt my own spirit leap like there was bird wings fluttering around inside my chest as the poet lit the candle from the huge flame and placed it on the table. The Nefer began to move around within the circle, speaking to us, meeting our eyes, including us in her words. This is the time of the fullness of the moon. All things wax and wane, even Nix's children are vampires. But as on this night, the powers of life, of magic, and of creation are at their brightest, as is our goddess's moon. This is the time of building, of doing. My heart was beating hard as I watched Nefer speak. I realized with a little start that she was actually giving a sermon. This was a worship service. But the casting of the circle and Nefertiti's words coupled to touch me like no other sermon had ever began to do. I glanced around. Maybe it was the settling. The room was mixed with incense and magical in the flickering candlelight. Never was everything a high priestess should be. Her beauty was a flame of its own, and her voice was a magic that held everyone's attention. No one would slump down in a pew sleeping or sneaking doing Sudoku. This is the time when the veil between the mundane world and the strange and beautiful realms of the goddess become thin and deep. On this night may one transparent the beauties of the words with ease, and now the beauty and enchantment of Nyx. I could feel her words wash against my skin and close my throat. A shiver and the mark on my forehead suddenly felt warm and tingling. Then the poet began to speak in his deep, powerful voice. This is a time for weaving the ether into being, of spinning the strands of space and time to bring forth creation, for life as a circle as well as a mystery. Our goddess understands this, as does her consort Elbrus. As he spoke, I felt better about Elizabeth's death. Suddenly, it didn't seem so scary, so horrible. It seemed more like a part of the natural world, a world that we all had a place in. Light, dark, day, night, death, life. All is tied together by spirit and the touch of the goddess. If we keep the balance and look to the goddess, we can learn to weave a spell of moonlight and fashion with a fabric of pure magical substance to keep with us all the days of our lives. Close your eyes, children of Nyx. Neverdi said. Send a secret desire to your goddess. Tonight, when the veil between the world is thin, when magic is afoot, within the mundane, perhaps Nyx will grant your petitions and dust you with the gossamer mist of dreams fulfilled. Magic. Danger, we're praying for magic. Would it work? Could it work? Was there really magic in this world? I remembered the way my spirit had been able to see words, and how the goddess had called me with her visible voice down into the service and then kissed my forehead and changed my life forever. And how just moments ago I felt the power of Never's calling of the elements. I hadn't imagined it. I couldn't have imagined it. I closed my eyes and thought about the magic that seemed to surround me. And then I sent up my wish into the night. My secret wish is that I belong, that I have finally found a home no one could take away from me. Despite my unusual warmth of my heart, my head felt light and unimaginably happy as never called us to open our eyes, and in a voice that was at the same time soft and powerful, woman and warrior combined, she continued the ritual. This is a time for traveling unseen in the full moonlight, a time to listen for music not fashioned by human or vampire hands. It is time for once with the wind that crushes us never bowed her head slightly to the east, and the bolt of lightning that mimics the spark of first life. She tilted her head to the south. It is time to reveal in the eternal sea and the warm rains that soothe us as the vibrant land that surrounds and keeps us. She acknowledged the west and north in turn. And each time Nephrite named an element, it felt as though a jolt of sweet electricity sizzled through my body. Then the four women who corresponded them moved as one to the table with Nephrite and Lorraine. Each of them lifted a goblet. All hail, O goddess of night and the full moon, Nephrite said. All hail, night, from whom our blessings come. On this night we give thanks to thee. Still holding the goblets, the four women scattered back to their places in the circle. In the mighty name of Nyx, Nephrite said, and of Elbrus, the poet added, we ask from within your scarce circle that you give us the knowledge to speak the language of wind, of the wilds, to fly with the freedom of the bird, to live the power and grace of the feline, and to find an ecstasy and joy in the life that would stir in the heights of our being. Blessed be. I couldn't stop grinning. I've never felt hard stuff like this in church before, and I'm sure as hell never forget to emphasize there either. Near I drank from the goblet she held and offered it to Oren, who drank from it and said, "Blessed be," mirroring their actions. The foreman moved quickly around the circle, allowing each person, including an adult, to drink from a goblet. When it was my turn, I was happy to see the familiar face of Kristin offer me a drink and a blessing. The wine was red, and I expected it to be better, like the sip of my mom's setting Cabernet I had tried once and definitely did not like, but it wasn't. It was sweet and spicy, and it made my head feel even lighter. When everyone had been given a drink, the goblets were returned to the table. Tonight, I want each of us to spend at least a moment or two alone in the light of the full moon. Let its light refresh you and help you remember how extraordinary you are, or you are becoming. She smiled at some of the feelings, including me. Bask in your uniqueness, revealed in your strength. We stand separated from the world because of our gifts. Never forget that, because we may be sure that the world never will. Now let us close the circle and embrace the night. In reverse order, never thank each gentleman and sent them away as each candle was blown out. As she did so, I felt a little twinge of sadness, like I was saying goodbye to friends. Then she completed the ritual by saying, "This rite is ended. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again." The crowd echoed, "Merry meet and merry part and merry meet again." And that was it. My first ritual of the goddess was over. The circle broke up quietly and quickly than I would have liked it to. I wanted to stay there and think about the amazing things I have felt, especially during the calling of the elements. But that was impossible. I was carried out of the temple on a tide of chatter. I was glad that everyone was so busy talking that no one noticed how quiet I was. I didn't think I could explain to them what just happened to me. Hell, I couldn't even explain to myself. Hey, you think they'll have Chinese food again tonight? I just love it. Last full moon, when they had yummy mugu stuff afterwards. Shunte said, "Not to mention my fortune cookie said you will make a name for yourself," which is way cool. I'm so starved, I don't care what they feed us, as long as they feed us. Me too, Stevie Ray said. For once we are in perfect agreement, Damien said, linking arms with Stevie Ray. It's only that reminded me. Guys, that nice tingling feeling ritual had me giving me what's going on. I have to. We're morons. Stevie thumped herself on the forehead and hard enough to make a smacking sound. We totally forgot. Oh crap, Trina said. The hags from hell, Aaron said. Want me to save you a plate of something, Damien X? Sweetly, no. Everybody said they're gonna feed me. Probably raw meat, yeah, from some poor kid she caught in her nasty spider web, Aaron said. By the way, she means that one between her legs.
Sorry, Davey.
It's okay.
I don't know why they keep
Shawnee explained. Stop your freaking Zoe out, Stevie Ray said as she started nudging me towards the door. I'll show her where the rec hall is, then I'll meet you guys at our table.
Where's your scanner at? I don't mean to interrupt.
In my bag.
Which, could you hand it to me when you get a chance? I'm going to reprogram
Outside, I said, "Okay, tell me that you're kidding about the raw meat." "They're kidding," Stevie Ray said anonymously. "Great, I don't even like my steak rare. What am I going to do if they really try to feed me raw meat?" I refuse to think about what kind of raw meat it might be. "I think I have a tongue somewhere in my purse. Do you want it?" Stevie Ray asked. "Yeah," I said, feeling nauseous. That ends our storytelling for tonight. And tomorrow we'll be doing chapter 16.